All right, getting going here. Thank you very much, everyone who's joining us today. My name is Adam Penna, and I'm here to continue the conversation in 3D printing and additive manufacturing. And wow, excited today to have probably familiar face to a lot of people. If not, somehow we can maybe call him the POTUS, but it's not the U.S. It's the president of AMUG, which is actually AMUG, which is actually the Additive Manufacturer User Group. So wonderful to have also the president of Met-L-Flo here, Carl Dekker. Carl, welcome.
Adam, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to this. Really an exciting way to try and take advantage of the fact that we're all not traveling much anymore.
Yeah. And, this whole season has been wild. Obviously, it's our trade show season right now. And it all was kicking off with, the Additive Manufacturer User Group, obviously, in the beginning of everything. And I remember at that moment when things started being questionable, the feeling of, oh, really? Oh boy. So, I mean, gosh, just to back it up, I'm beyond humbled because there are people in this industry that obviously are consulting for years and getting into things. Even in the last 10 years, have a lot of great experience. You've been educating the industry now for 30 years at Met-L-Flo and working with people to understand, what the benefits are of 3D printing. And, that in itself is just really amazing that you have, that much experience to bring to the table, but you're very generous with it. I know everything that I've had, any interaction with the team is a very humbled and consultative approach of making people understand where the benefits are and what they can do with it. So thank you for that in general. And so it's super nice to have you here.
My pleasure. I'm glad that that's the way that you're picking it up. Because that's the way it's intended.
Good. It is. It's a lot. I mean, there's a lot going on with service and education. And I mean, you even started out in casting in the late 80s, getting things going on that side of it. So there's just so much that happens inside of the 3D printing realm, and everyone's pushing towards production, but you've been actually helping people get there and showing them the difference between, what 3D printing is and taking it into the production phase if it's needed. Sometimes it's not needed, and they have to make an educated guess on when or not to do that. So that's an excellent spot to be in, and I know you've also been helping out with standards over the years and getting things set up, because a lot of the conversations I have with people, that's one of the biggest gripes is like, it'd be great when they standardize things more so things could be set up. And I see that happening now, but it takes the people that have been around and see the standards and know what needs to be changed to help everyone out there. So again, that's a great thing to be involved in. So I know we started out with talking about AMUG there. What was that like at that time? This has been an interesting year for everybody, but leading up to that, the changes, you did some great things. I saw the D.I.N.O awards, we're on, video this year, but so what was that like?
Well, very tenuous. Okay. Yeah. We had never, it's the first time in the entire existence of the users group that it's ever had to be postponed.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. What were we dealing with? Was it a flu? Was it a major pandemic? It was still kind of new at that point, and we knew that there was something. We saw cases rising, but it was challenging to go through and try and find out what's the right thing to do. I mean, it's easy to look back now and say, yeah, we did the right thing. But at the time, it's a major event. A lot of people from all over the world want to come there. It's a great opportunity to interact. It's a tremendous learning experience for everybody. And there had been all this work put in by so many volunteers.
Yeah.
It was a challenge.
Yeah. A lot of work was already put in leading up to that moment, because that all happened right at the, it was pretty much a week before, I think, right? That things were really called it was very last minute,
We were trying to do our fiduciary duty of protecting the users' funds and everything like that. So we had a set time that we needed to take action before contracts were invoked. And fortunately, we did it in time, and we were able to manage as best we could everything that happened. It's a whole new world.
It is.
Fortunately, we've managed to try and do some things, like you mentioned, the D.I.N.O awards. Excellent job the team did.
Yes, excellent. Phenomenal. Watch that. It was wonderful.
They wanted to keep everything with the AMUG quality that everybody's become so accustomed to. So they put a lot of work into it, a lot of effort, and really did an amazing job, I think, pulling it together, and it was really cool.
Yeah, I agree. It was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
well, it's good we at least had that come out of it. But yeah, there are a lot of obviously restructuring and trying to do things the right way when there's no precedence on how the right way is supposed to be in something like that. So yeah, I mean, you know, for what it's worth, wonderful job pulling through it with things. But it obviously there was a lot of ouch for everybody there, and looking forward to when we all can meet again, because it is such a pleasure to see people, you know, that are working so hard on making things happen in one place. So that's everyone I talk to misses that meeting. So looking forward to making it happen in the future, and it remains to be seen, of course, how those policies and procedures will kind of play out over the next year. But looking forward to that day. You know, it'll happen. But yeah.
we are too. There's a lot of effort already underway to make it happen. And again, I think there's one thing we've learned with all this, and that is virtual does not replace physical and in person.
That's for sure. Yeah. At least we're knocking down a few more barriers, you know, and the virtual world that needed to be overcome for connections. You know, the flip side, like we're always saying, you stay positive, right? You know, there's been a lot more conversations. People are opening up their video cameras where they are now, and I think I've seen people just talking more, and there's been a lot more partnerships and things happening. But yeah, you know, there could be more with the meetings in person, but at least it's a little supplement for now. You know, and then when the other side of it comes back, we'll be that much stronger on the virtual meetings. You know, there's a lot of great things happening there that I think will definitely carry over. However, I can't wait to shake the hands and say hello face to face and talk to the customers, prospects, and colleagues that way. It is such an important part of the community, you know, community activity, and being together and making things happen a little more in person. So.
Well,
all
there's
right.
a lot of communication,
Yeah.
a lot of communication that is nonverbal, that helps communicate the message and helps it get understood.
Right.
So,
a lot of good vetting happens at those shows also. Like you see a machine, you'll be able to talk to a person, look at, talk about materials right in front of what's happening with a certain company and understand the differences between the 2 or 3 or 4 or whoever you're looking at. Those type of things are invaluable in one spot. So I can't wait till we can get back to that.
Yep. So
well, good. I know that you've been doing a lot there. Obviously, how has things been going at Met-L-Flo over the last few months?
Well, we had some pretty weird times.
We
ended up. We were trying to follow the governor's orders and doing.
You're in Chicago, of course, right? Chicago area,
yes.
Up in Illinois. Yes.
Yeah. So we obviously had to take all non-essential personnel or non-critical personnel, and then we went through and were very careful about who we kept on and tried to build a very small strategic team. And of course, we had our customers sending us letters saying, no, you are essential. You have to stay in production and we need our parts. So we had a few government contracts and things that we had to keep a core group here doing. And then obviously that core group had some ability to meet some of the other needs and other demands. And as we've gotten definition of what the stages are and how to get through them, we've been able to bring back a lot of the people. We still have maybe a couple that haven't come back. We've got a couple of others that have been added. So, in all sincerity, we're moving forward. We're adapting and adopting new ways to approach things, looking at different opportunities by which to help our customers, and seeing what we can do to expand out, because we still see a lot of them are working remote, or maybe they can come into the office once or twice, but it's not the same. So there's additional needs that they have. We've expanded some of our offering to help take care of that and help facilitate their needs, while at the same time still taking care of a lot of our others. And we're just like everybody else. We're trying to understand really what does all this mean? Where's it going? And what's the next step? How do we prepare to make sure that we're there when our clients need us, and not oh, well, yeah, we'd like to get that to you, but it's going to take an extra 2 weeks because we're busy. You know, that.
Big
So
deal. Yeah.
it's, well, and you know, that's the day-to-day managing the business type stuff, and how you keep going. And now obviously you throw on all the other stuff of how do you keep people safe? How do you manage any sort of funding
Yep.
opportunities or things? And it's, so what looked like it was going to be a great time to be able to catch up on a lot of things that were lagging, it didn't quite happen. We
Yeah.
just got extra hours.
Yeah, and so as far as that goes, have you seen a different type of workload? Were you involved in any of the supplemental, the PPE, or any of the stuff that was happening in the midterm, or has it been a consistent flow of work? How have things looked at this time?
We've seen some deviation in the demand levels,
Okay,
and some of that has returned back to normal. Some of it's starting to. Some of it was higher than expected because it was just different contracts that weren't affected by things. We did go through and file all the applications we could, see what sort of additional
yeah,
aid, because we didn't know what was coming. We didn't know how to prepare for it,
sure.
and how to take care of everything. So we were fortunate with a number of those things, and that's helped us continue to, as it seems like the key word is today is pivot,
Hmm.
to to move into where we're going to have to be in the future. But you know, it seems like no matter what you do, the stuff I did when I started in this industry, some of it still happens, a lot of it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's constantly reinventing and moving around and seeing what you can do to meet the needs of the customers, and to be able to make sure that their focus aligns with our focus, and that we can actually become a solution, and not just part of the equation.
Yeah,
So,
that's big right now. And you know, you were saying, you know, like little keywords or little phrases that aren't used, but I know that a lot of people are throwing around being nimble right now, right? Being able to switch and turn and move with the changes, and being able to pick up things that you weren't planning and make that part of the business plan now. That's you know, it's kind of like we're forced to do something like that right now, right? And where it's coming up is hard to say where it's going to be sustainable going forward. There's another thrown around word, but it's true. It's like, where are these things going to pick up and continue to move? Now, in the past and over the years, you've really specialized in a lot of like tooling operations. And that word again is used in so many different ways depending upon the industry you're talking about. You know, even something as close as the CNC uses a tool on the end of the machine, but you know, to cut. But that's not the type of tooling we're talking about when we're making fabrication for tooling. And so talk about that difference a little bit, and where have you seen things evolved in 3D printing on the tooling side, and what are some of the strengths, and where do you see the future of it going?
well, the tooling, I got to say, is all of these, the additive, any of the subtractive, they're all tools in a toolbox to get a solution. Even CAD and
Hmm.
reverse engineering.
Yeah.
Uh, how do you go through and get this concept, and boom, out the other end, you've got something that you know is solid and it's good. And you can prove it.
Hmm.
We've been trying to apply a number of these, using additive to make tools for a lot of our secondary processes. So things like vacuum forming, rotational molding, just regular castings. So forming, casting, modifications, or anything. So a variety of different ways to be able to apply the additive technologies. But we've actually found a number of areas where people will come to us and they're saying, "Hey, we need to get this piece made, and it has to do this function, but we've got a problem because everybody's stuck at home and we don't have the reason. Can you help us?" And we're like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, the same guys that do the design of our tools and do the design of a number of our own inspection fixtures and jigs and things like that are now getting pulled and applied to the point where we're actually designing the solution for the customer. They can take a look at it, say, "That's exactly what I want. Great, go for it. Let's get that made." And now we're actually helping them take the whole problem off their hands and deliver a solution.
Hmm.
And that's been something that we're finding a lot of people enjoying. The other part of it is, you see all this hype out there. Hey, we can 3D print this stuff. We can 3D print all these different components on demand instantly. We can pivot and make a new product overnight, which is great. But there's still a lot of people that don't quite understand where and how to apply that.
Mm-hmm.
So we've even been getting to the point of helping them find ways to apply the additive manufacturing to low volume solutions. So they're getting more awareness that 3D printing or additive manufacturing is a viable means to a solution, but that doesn't mean that they have the understanding of how to apply it, how to make it work for their area, what's going to happen if you're in extreme temperatures, what's going to happen, and what material do you need for this. And in all sincerity, a lot of them just haven't seen that many applications because they've got a day-to-day job they have to do, whereas we're living in it.
Yep.
So now we get to apply those different things for them and say, here you go, we're going to do this. What do you think? Well, we still have to do this test, this test, this test. And we're like, okay. And as long as we pass all that, we're good, right? So yeah, here you go. Here's your document with all your criteria. All right, let's do it. We end up implementing a solution for them. And it's one of those that adds a lot of value to them because it opens up opportunities that they couldn't have done before or wouldn't have economically been able to do. And it allows us the ability to give another solution or something to a customer that we typically wouldn't have gotten that in depth with.
Yeah, that's a specialized solution you're talking about, and that's very important. Like you're saying, it gets very confusing out there, especially when people are reliant on softwares and they think that they know, okay, I could run this many iterations and I'll be able to pick the right thing because I understand simulation a little bit. Well, if you're not doing it every day, and if you haven't seen it done a lot of times and fail or what happens inside the machine, or there's so many things that go into being specialized in the everyday operation. And that's amazing, that Met-L-Flo, that you could bring those kind of things to the industry. There's so many people, like I said, out there that are maybe specialized in a certain side of it but don't see the big picture. And the big picture is a really important aspect to bring to the game. There's just so much going on, and if you haven't been working in it for a while, it's going to take you a while to get through it. So why not work with a partner like Met-L-Flo and get things done a bit quicker? And so that prototype to production, that's a big topic also, where 3D printing has been going over the years. Obviously, mostly in the U.S., it definitely was and is prototype. Now we're seeing, the word additive manufacturing, has been about the production side of it and looking how you can repeatedly manufacture those parts and actually be using them instead of just the prototypes that are out there. So talk about that a little bit. What have you seen over the last 30 years in that whole game of everyone that's been going from the prototype side and then becoming more aware of production?
We saw a lot in the beginning. It was rapid prototyping.
Yep.
Great. It was a way to get your design quickly in hours, and this laser would go. Super. It was still cool to watch, but it was really slow at the time.
Yeah.
Now we've got to move in a lot faster, but you were still able to prove out any geometry you wanted, even though all the geometry was still designed for production. So it was DFM. Now we started learning that, hey, we can do any design that we want. We can put in any sort of features. We could use variable wall thicknesses, stuff like that. So you start to see the additive side kind of veering off towards where you're getting more of the material utilization and pairing it to the design so that you get more functionality. While at the same time, we were doing stuff back long time ago, early 90s, where we were actually using the casting technologies because the patterns were so fragile, you couldn't really use them for much more than visual concepts, but they would make perfect patterns. So we could duplicate the pieces into thermoset materials. Now you've got, well, back then I think it was hundreds, maybe thousands of materials. Now you've got tens of thousands. But you were able to get different materials which had properties which were much more known and understood. And we made pieces for Believe it or not, back then, cellular station testing
No, that was big.
equipment
Yeah.
for the,
Yeah.
yeah, well, back at that point, yeah.
Yeah.
So the field engineers need to carry these things, but how many field engineers do you have testing base stations?
Mm-hmm.
So it was, again, pairing an application to a technology.
Yep.
Good way to build these low volume pieces, great. Now that we're getting to the point where we've got materials which are getting better, we can start getting to the point of producing them off the machine, because we're getting better repeatability and reliability. But there's still a little bit of question because you don't have the design confirmation as far along. You don't have definitive guarantee that your window of deviation is tight enough for scale production to put parts in the field. But that doesn't mean there aren't a lot of applications that pieces need to be made. And a lot of this is manufacturing aids. So production aids, ergonomical aids, inspection aids. So any your mechanicals, your manufacturing engineers, your quality engineers, all these guys have different areas where they need specialty components, and these systems can make them easily. And the CAD in the very beginning was very slow. You had to buy a separate module to create an STL file. You had to have some, big Unigraphics or SGI box to be able to design.
SparkStation was my first. DG SparkStation, yeah. That was like, whoa, I've got power now. Anyhow.
Yeah.
Parametric modeling, assemblies, whoa, yeah. Pretty neat.
And now you got almost the same power in a cell phone.
Yeah. Totally true. Yeah, amazingly true. That's so weird. Yeah.
Yeah. So now you've got it to where more people can afford CAD access. Some of them are free, and you've got a lot more computing power that can handle it. So the knowledge and ability to be able to integrate CAD into the program is a lot easier. Well, now you're just saying, well, great, we'll take these things, we'll marry them up, and we'll export a different file, and we'll build that, and there we go, problem done. Now you're starting to look at a variety of different areas, and we're coming. The biggest thing we're still battling now is materials, material properties, repeatability, reliability issues. But for example, we did a part for a customer that they wanted this fixture that went on the production line, carried a bunch of parts down, made sure that everything got assembled right. The whole thing, it was relatively large. It was like almost $1,000 on FDM to build one. They came back, they said, this worked out great. We want to get 100 of them. We said, that was a pretty expensive part to be getting 100 of. And we said, hey, let's look at the criteria. We know what you want to use it for, but what does it really need to do? Where are your inspection criteria, your dimensional restrictions? What's your material strength restrictions? And we said, well, we could probably make this out of Kydex or something, vacuum forming material.
Yeah.
And they said, sure, what's that going to cost? And literally it was one-fifth of the cost.
Yep.
So they're like, you can do that for that much and even less delivery? And I'm like, yeah, that's why you're talking with us.
Yeah.
So here we wind up giving them a great solution. And if they want more, they come back. We still got the tool. We just put it on and pull down more pieces.
Yeah.
But it's trying to work with them to get that understanding of what's it really have to do and what are the criticals. And then let us try and suggest some options and kick them back. Tell us, no, those won't work. That's not going to happen. And we need this or we need that. And collectively, we're going to come to a more advanced solution.
Right.
Just by asking a few.
No, that's a customer forward approach. Obviously, you want the feedback the whole way to make sure that you're addressing the right problem. Because if you're just trying to tell them this will work for you, but you didn't hear why it works from them, then you're kind of lost there in that customer relationship. That's big. I wanted to ask you brought up something in the middle of there too. We were touching on it, and it was a thought in my head. I know we're all pretty big students of the STL file, right? What's your opinion now, STL to voxel? What do you see, strengths, weaknesses? What do you think about that whole trend right now?
I like the voxel opportunity. You definitely have some ability to get some more control. but I gotta say, I would like to see us get to the point where we're going straight from the CAD. I mean, I understand why the STL exists.
Yeah.
We were dealing with 286 at the time.
Yeah.
You had 8 digits and you need 3 extra for the file name, so STL worked. But you had to get it manageable in size. Now that's not so much the problem.
Yeah.
So how can we keep it as true to the original intended design as possible? The voxel's nice. It gives us 1 degree of more control. The AMF file format is another means to get that control. The 3MF file formats, and so we've got these different ways. But ultimately, we're going to serve the customer best if we don't have to do a conversion of their data.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, we have to go through for a lot of people, a lot of our customers, and we have to prove that the original file they gave us, the conversions that we went through, and the end output did not deviate beyond a given set amount. Which, in all sincerity, it's not that we can't do that, but it's a lot of additional legwork. It's a lot of additional time and labor that winds up becoming costs that aren't necessarily adding value to the end product.
Bingo.
Yeah, it's confirming that it meets what's intended, but if we could get rid of those value limiting or value detracting steps, that's really good. So
that's one more process to take out of the way, and it seems like it's getting there. There's a lot of ideas how to get there, but it hasn't quite taken the STL file out of the equation yet. That's a lot of good insight there, because it's the power of to take that extra operation out of the way. That's a lot of what 3D printing and additive manufacturing could do when it's valuable. So taking that one more extra step in that design process, it does mean one extra step. So deviation analysis, it's done mostly with toolings, mostly with software simulation. You probably use a lot of coordinate measurement machines to figure out what's happening with the part afterwards, or even a CT scan to check what's going on internally with some of the parts. There's so many ways, but those are all extra steps that if they're not needed, depending upon the process, you can get away with some different things. So always looking to improve, I think there's a lot of great things out there that are leaning in that direction for the print itself, but haven't actually established a game winner yet that's actually changing the whole process and making it quicker. So looking forward to that kind of working itself out too. Yeah.
We've seen a lot of improvements. I'm sure somebody's going to come up with a way to do it, and I'll be more than happy to adopt it and bring it in and
test it, prove it, break it, give it back, tell them what to do next. That's part of it, man. This used to always happen to me when I worked at Faro. It was a lot of testing for the software. They're like, always get Adam in there, he'll break it. Yeah, it's important to get somebody that could break it. Otherwise, you don't learn from it and learn where you can fix and improve. So anyhow, good stuff. I know we've talked a lot about the importance of industry education and collaboration, and that's a lot of what these groups that we're involved in do in the industry. And what if you have any impressions of what's been happening, since this change? I think there's, like we said, a lot more collaboration. And are there any things coming up? Like, is there a lot of plans that you see that are starting to unfold with this collaboration efforts going on?
From what I'm seeing, just watching different things, I'm seeing tons of people collaborating on activities for PPE. Mm-hmm. And I think that collaboration is bringing to light some of the problems and the issues that we've had to deal with. Not just the fact that we're distanced, but for example, the FDA went through, I think it was a EUA, emergency use authorization. So great, now you can produce parts for medical use as long as this situation exists. But the second that situation is gone, you can no longer.
Yeah, it's another barrier put back in place. Yeah.
But it's one of those that they've obviously come to the realization that, hey, we've got a solution here. We need to be able to find out how to get it in action. And so we're starting to see some of these things that typically, you know, when casual economy, good, everybody's doing well, you don't worry about it.
Mm.
But you get to a crisis situation, and next thing you know, it's like, wait a second, we need to fix this. And how far do we go along? And we're seeing some of those come out. If we can get them fixed and we can get ways to get around that, we're all going to benefit. Technology will advance, and we'll have better solutions. And hopefully the next time something like this happens, hopefully it doesn't, but
Right.
if something like this happens, we'll be more prepared to take action and implement solutions. And then we'll find the next level that needs to be fixed.
Yeah, it's always on to the next one. No, I think that is a good point. I mean, there's a lot of things that are happening now with the pandemic where things are a little bit more open or quicker to be released. However, there's always that balance of, where's the safety versus doing it quick. There's got to be, some sort of gate into releasing things to the public at certain times. However, we've seemed to found a quicker way of doing it, and hopefully that will kind of be let's meet somewhere in the middle going forward or something like that, because sometimes you are held up by certain things that are getting in the way of a process that it's out of your hands. And I've seen that over the last few months. A lot of things have come to market a lot quicker than they did in the past, and hopefully those kind of trends will continue where they can, because it's another thing to open up a lot more applications happening and things just coming to market a lot quicker that people could use out there. There's a lot of need in the market right now for the health and safety. So it's good to see that as being the biggest part of it. That's really good.
Yeah. Well, and I, as much as I hate to see it happen, there's been a lot of people who've been on furloughed or the unemployment and things like that. But we're not talking people that aren't knowledgeable and intelligent individuals. So we're also starting to see ideas, concepts, potential solutions coming out that typically wouldn't come out because there wasn't time for it. Now the issue is we're dealing with a much broader spectrum of people. Are these solutions that through additive manufacturing could materialize into available products? Because the investment in tooling and a manufacturing floor and an assembly line and all the other large scale items don't have to be there. So get it onto the web, get it onto meetings and things like this where you can expose a product that has a specific niche need, and now get that demand met even on an ongoing basis. Are we going to see a whole bunch of new startups evolving that have products which will be market niches or focused on some sort of demographic or microcosm of a culture that could take advantage of and wants something like that? And maybe there's ways to improve people's lifestyles with specialty components.
Yeah, no, that's the big thing. That's again why I get up in the morning and I'm happy with a lot of things that are going on in the industry, because it does come down. I used to say I like doing this because I like getting involved in all the applications, and that's part of it. But just recently, it was a recent phone call. All of a sudden, I was like an epiphany going, I like seeing what helps people. There's, I think that's really it. I was like, wow, what an amazing thing to realize is it's really that I like to see the solutions that help society, help people improve. And, I'm grateful that I'm involved in an industry that provides that or can provide that with the right resources. So again, looking at the bright side, there's a lot of negativity to focus on if you want to, but there's a lot of good things that are happening, a lot of hope in the industry that you could find with manufacturing. So, It's been great. Carl, thanks for being here today. Anything additional you'd like to add? It's been great talking with you.
Well, again, it's been great catching up with you. I look forward to getting the chance to get out and see everybody in person. Until then, we're going to keep going and taking care of everybody we can here at Met-L-Flo and seeing how we can apply the best technology or the best solution to their needs. And again, work with them through the point of asking a number of questions. We'd love to be able to boil that down to something we can put on our webpage.
And that webpage is, we can put that in the description here.
Met-L-Flo.com, Met-L-Flo.com.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll include that
Yeah.
in this conversation. So
I
appreciate you being here again, Carl, and let's keep in touch. I'd like to check in a little bit further down the road and see how things are going. But again, thank you very much, Carl. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Adam. You take care. It's great talking to you.